Alrighty, gentlemen, here is to do math and calculations to see if a Warmogs helps you tank better than a sunfire. Now, there's much debate about what a tank should be and what their role is and blah, blah, blah. Okay, we're not going to get into that right now. We're just going to simply see, do they tank better? Okay, in terms of one metric. Just one metric right now, that's it. Okay? That metric being effective hit points. Okay? Now, there's a difference between hit points and resistances. Those are two different numbers, but they combine to make an effective hit points. Okay? So it's not about the hit points, not about the resistance, it's about the effective hit points, or the combination of those two. Okay? So, we will start off with a little bit of math, and then we'll come back here to confirm. Okay? So this is the closest possible matchup that I could possibly do in all of the games that we've played that show identical, exactly what we're talking about. Okay? So, this is me and Los in a match together. Both of us are building tank against the same enemy in the same game. Everything, all of the other parameters are the same. So that'll help us confirm the math later on which one is which. Okay? But so let's take this step by step. Okay? So first we'll do a little bit of math. Okay? Step one is our math. And to get us out of the, League of Legends part of this, I just want to get a basics of math down. Okay? So I'm going to take a step back out of League of Legends and actually talk about something else. In this case, we're talking about electricity. Okay? It's the same exact principle in the math, but here we go. A watt is volt times amp. Okay? So if you do the math, if you have 10 amps, 10 volts equals 100 watts. Boom. Likewise, if you change one of those numbers, just one of them, you get more watts. So I did 100 amps times 10 volts equals 1,000 watts. Okay? So that's the principle that we're working on. We're going to change one of these two numbers to get a bigger watt. Okay? Now, we have to figure out how is everything calculated in League of Legends. Okay? So essentially, if you want to use the same analogy, how are we calculating electricity? Like, how are we going to measure it? Okay? Or how's it mathed? Okay? Right here, this is League of Legends site itself, talking about the effectiveness of armor. Okay? And how to calculate effective hit points and effective resistances. Okay? So in this case, you calculate effective hit points is hit points times 1 plus your effective resistance. That's the equation. So, for example, if you have 1,000 hit points, base hit points, with 35 effective resistance, you will have 1,000 times 1.35 equals 1,350 effective hit points. So you're basically turning 1,000 hit points into 1,350 damage. That means the enemy has to do 1,350 damage to you to be able to kill you. Okay? So, that's step two. That's where you can get the information. That's how you calculate all of these things. So we're going to apply this same analogy from the electricity. Up there you had amp times volt equals watts. All we're doing is exchanging the parameters of baseline hit points times your effective resistances equals of your effective hit points. Okay? Now, why I say effective armor, armor is not effective resistances. If you look here in the game, I'll provide you the example. If you look down here, it says you have Blitzcrank right here has 53 armor. It says current armor 53. 47 base plus 6 is where that number came from. Okay? But the actual effective reduced physical damage is 35%. So armor or magic resist does not equal percent reduced damage. Okay? We're just straight up talking there's a law of diminished return on how that's calculated. Okay, so it's not effective. Like, one armor does not equal 1% reduced physical damage. Okay, so we'll move on to step 4. All we're going to do is get our data, get our information. Okay, how much hit points do you have, and what's the effective resistance? I went through here on level 3 at our base. We just bought items. Okay, Maoki has a base hit points of 1096 and 53 armor and 53 magic resist, which gives 35% reduced damage. Okay, simple enough. We're just going to take those two numbers. We're going to plug them in over into our spreadsheet. Blitzcrank has 964 hit points and the exact same resistances at 35%. Okay? So, we take those numbers, we plug them into here. Now, I did this in 3 different snapshots. I did a level 3 comparison, a level 8 comparison, and a level 13 comparison. Okay? So here's the base hit point numbers. Okay? Then I also calculated in here and put into this spot the effective resistances, the number that came from League of Legends themselves. Okay? So here's the numbers that you come up with that for the effective resistances. Now I'll tell you why there's a discrepancy in these two numbers right here later on, but I don't want to muddy the water right now. We'll get back to that. Okay? So we're just gathering data in step 4. Step 5 is actually doing the math. Okay? Here's the math. You take the hit points of the individual times the resistances, 1 plus whatever the resistance percentage is, okay, equals your effective hit points. So I then calculated out each set, each snapshot, what Blitzcrank had, what Maoki had at level 3, level 8, level 13, with their respective builds. Times those baseline hit points out with their resistances and got the effective hit points. And then I separated it by armor and magic because you have typically one number is higher than the other. So it's a side-by-side comparison. Attack damage is on the left, magic resistance is on the right, or magic damage. Okay, so this is effectively what an enemy champions have to do in that in that field of damage to be able to kill that person either with attack or AD or magic. Okay. Step 6. We'll confirm our results, but let's take a look at this. I really want to examine this list. Okay. So here is the effective hit points at level 3. Blitzcrank building a horn and piece for the Warmog. He's going to have 1,446 hit points. Excuse me, not even a piece for the Warmog, just a Guardian Horn. Sorry about that. Guardian Horn and mana. And Maoki built his piece into sunfires. Okay. The effective hit points is 1,446 versus 1,479. So Maoki only has 33 hit points more than my than the Blitzcrank build. Okay? At level 3 baseline. Okay? Level 8 is when both Maoki and Blitzcrank got their Warmogs, Warmog and Sunfire respectively. Okay? So, aka both of them had just built their first item, both of them have just a tier besides. Okay? Effective hit points on Blitzcrank is 3,970 and 3,574 respectively, and Maoki is 2,600 and 2,700. We'll call it 2,700 for both. That's what, 900 damage, 100 more? So at level 8, after I build my Warmogs, that is, I now can tank 800 more damage than Maoki can. percentage-wise, that is 25% more tanky. Okay? Now, we can argue damage later. I'm just talking straight up tanking ability. How much can the person tank? Okay? So we'll get into that later. But for this video, it's just hit points. And then at level 13, Maoki had built his second item, which is a thornmail, and Blitzcrank had no other tanky items. So at level 13, Maoki having an entirely second item, which is a thornmail. Look at the numbers. In the magic resist category, we're almost identical. 4768 versus 4767. In the attack damage, Maoki has, what, roughly 230 hit points? More? Is that right? 270 hit points. More. And that's with an entirely second item. Blitzcrank had built into Trinity Force. So, let's just prove this for a second. I'm going to step back. Sorry, I forgot to prove this and show you in the video, in the replay, these numbers. Here is level 3 snapshots. Okay, level 6 or level 8 snapshots at 2 minutes, 6 minutes and 28 seconds. Here's your snapshots. Okay, Blitzcrank. And then, what was it, 1238 was the identical. Okay. 66, 57 for Maoki's 3037 hit points, and 76 hit points for Blitzcrank with 49 and 49. Okay. Just to show you the proof on those. Okay? That's all I was trying to do in the video. Now, there's tactics and everything else that we're going to get into, but I'm talking about straight up tanking. Okay? I would like to also prove something else in this build. So you can stop the video. I want to discuss everything from this point on, but I want to continue on because there's more to that build. Okay? So right there is a good spot to stop the video. Go ahead and pause. Okay, now we'll continue. One of the primary things that I have been flogged for on the Warmog build is the fact that the effect of healing is not applicable. Okay? Like, oh, you know, you don't get the effect. I wanted to point something out. Blitzcrank, take a look at the build. I have a Warmogs and a Guardian Horn, that's it. Combine that with my runes. I'm at current health bonus of 11, almost 1100. It's 1087. Now we were getting our asses kicked in this match. Didn't have as many minions under my belt at this particular point, but I averaged out in 10 games about when does my Warmogs hit when I build a Warmogs for tanking. It's right around 6.5 minutes, level 8. 7 or 8 depending on, and you know, it's sometimes a little sooner than 6.5 minutes, sometimes it's a little 7. I just averaged it out. So at level 6, I can heal all of the damage that was dealt to me repeatedly. As long as I can get out of combat, I can go back in and be full health, tanking every single time. That means that if I have effective hit points of roughly, give me a second, I'll bring up the chart. If I have a rough hit points of 3,574, and I take the equivalent of what Maoki would do to die, which is 2,700 would kill him. If I last with my 700 hit points extra, and I get out of combat and heal it all up, I not only tanked as much as Maoki, but I can now go and do it again. I could now just get 2,700 damage done to me again, and just keep healing it over and over and over. Okay? Versus Maoki traded for the sunfire in the armor. Excuse me. He's traded for the hit points and tank ability for the ability to do more damage. Okay? We'll address that point now. But first, let's confirm one other point that I'd like to make with those. Not a new point, just the points that I've made. Now, if my math is correct, and maybe it's incorrect, I don't know. You know, from everything I've researched, what I have understood about math, video games, all of that math checks out as far as I know. So please, if something doesn't work with that, I would love to know. Okay? But I want to confirm something. If it's true, if what I'm saying is true, that I will tank more damage and that I have more hit points and all that kind of stuff. Okay? I want to take a look at something right here. Oops, excuse me. Over to this screen. Stats. Damage taken. Blitzcrank did 30,000 damage taken. Maoki did 22,000 damage taken. No, against any other tank that can't heal, so minus this 5184, it's only 17,000. That is 46% more damage tanked if you throw any other tank in there that can't heal as much as Maoki did. So maybe a Garen could maybe tackle that, but nobody else. Okay? So currently in this game, we both had the same number of deaths. Same number. So it's not like I died more or he died more. It is, we died this exact same amount. My Blitzcrank build, my tank build, doesn't matter if I'm Blitzcrank, my tank build took 26% more damage than the Sunfire build with a thornmail. So I would take that, and correct me if I'm wrong, as a confirmation that my math is correct. But again, please, by all means, show me where I'm wrong. Please, just either in stats or in math or in some way, please tell me how, as one metric, I'm not talking about all the other metrics of damage and all that kind of stuff, in one metric, I tanked more damage than Maoki with the exact same number of deaths, and we're both building tank. Okay. I would like to finish up with a side note, just because there will be some debate about this. I don't want to make it about this, but I'll tell you about the Guardian Horn and why that matters into the percentages of resistances that the effective resistances that you get in those calculations. This, I will get to that, but I wanted to point out something. Resistances are a diminished return. Okay? So I looked up exactly how much resistances for the 35 magic resist and the 35 armor that the Sunfire gives. It gives 11% of resistances. Okay? So it's 35 in the number that it gives you, but the actual percentages that it gives you is this, 11%. Okay? I can show you that if there's a question about it. But let's take a look then. So a full Sunfire is 450 hit points times the 1.11 equals 499 hit points. Effective hit points that you just gained. But you also did gain 11% resistances from your current hit points. Okay? So you get the 11% plus the hit points that you already have. Okay? Comes out to 227. So a total with resistances and hit points included, a Sunfire gives you an effective hit points of 726 increase at level 8 on Maoki in that game. Warmogs is just straight up 800 hit points, no resistances. So 800 times the resistances that I already have gives me 1.52 times 800. So my effective hit points on a Warmogs is 1,216 hit points. So my one item gave me roughly 500 extra hit points with that build. if you want, I'll post this in the description as well. Here's the effective hit point. This is how it's calculated. So I went into the game and looked at the effective resistances, highlighted them before and after the sunfire was built. So we can go through that and debate that if you want. And then the extra credit that we'll give is the horn and the percentage of effectiveness of it. The horn gives you 15 off the top. So I'll just bring that up real quick. The second part here is Undaunted, blocks 15 damage from attacks and spells from champions. Now, at level 3, which everybody is at, if you go to an 80 carry, he has 97 physical damage. Heimer's abilities do 95, 76. Draven has 103. Jin has 110. And Morgana's abilities hit for negligible, right around the 124. So, averaged out, let's say, for easy figuring, it's 15 divided by 100. So at level 3, you get 15% resistances on everything that's being thrown at you. So, calculate it out. Level 3, you get 15%, but, you know, obviously, as people get more attack damage and more AP and whatnot, it's less and less effective. So, I went through and did the calculations of how much attack damage they have and how much the Guardian is, you know, divided by the 15. So it'd be at level 6, they were running about 150, give or take. So you're talking 10%, and then at level 13, it's 6%. So Guardian Horn is just ridiculously OP considering the healing effectiveness and the resistance effectiveness. But that's where it comes into on your step 4, where you're talking about effective resistances. That's why Blitzcrank has so much higher effective resistances at level 3 than Maoki does. And that Guardian Horn continues to pay off even at level 8. Maoki is just catching up as he's building Sunfire. So, yeah. I would love to debate with you. Please point out where I'm wrong. Please point out what the differences are. Or anything like that. I would absolutely love to know. So, prove me wrong. Just any proof, please. Just not your opinion. I don't want you to appeal to an authority. I just want actual facts. So, from everything I've been able to see, this is the calculations, and it matches exactly what Riot spits out for numbers. So, even if you can contend that Blitzcrank, you know, somehow my math is wrong, and somehow my build is incorrect, or my calculations and stuff like that, and Riot is incorrect, maybe you can. Even if you can get, let's say, 20% down. So instead of me tanking 26% more through level 13, maybe you can point out that it's not 20, you know, take off 20%. That still means I'm tanking just as much. Literally just as much. So, I'd love to debate more. It's already a long video. We can talk about damage because of the fact that because I don't need to build a second item in the tanking class, I'm building a Trinity Force on Blitzcrank in this case, which gives me more damage than another tank item would. But I'm still not losing any of my current damage absorbing abilities or initiation abilities. But I'm gaining the ability to heal repetitively throughout the entire rest of the match. So, yeah, appreciate it. Let's talk.